It's time for Fresh Oil with singer-songwriter and pastor Keith Manley, a program designed to minister the gospel of God's grace and to bring fresh oil to the brokenhearted. And now, with today's program, Pastor Keith Manley.
Welcome back to Fresh Oil. We are in the questions God asked, and what a week this has been. We heard God call to Adam in the garden. We heard him ask Hagar about her journey at the wilderness spring. Yesterday, we heard him call to Elijah in the cave with the most personal and gentle reorientation in the whole Old Testament. Today's question is unlike all three of those. Today, God is not asking about a location or a journey or a hiding place. Today, God is asking about a mission. Today, the question is not where you are or where you have been. Today, the question is, will you go? Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? This question comes from Isaiah chapter 6, and it is the most important vocational question in the entire Bible. It is the question behind every calling, every commissioning, every sending. And I want you to notice something right up front. This question is not addressed to Isaiah by name. God does not say, Isaiah, will you go? He throws it open into the throne room. Whom shall I send? Who will go? As if God is holding open the door to an assignment and waiting to see who steps through it. And Isaiah steps through it. Today I want to take you into the throne room with him, because I believe God is asking this question today. And I believe there are people listening right now who need to hear it and answer it. Isaiah 6 opens with one of the most carefully chosen dates in the whole book, in the year that King Uzziah died. Now, why does that matter? Uzziah had been king of Judah for 52 years. 52 years is a long time. Most people alive when Isaiah had this vision had never known another king. Uzziah was the world they lived in. He was the stability, the reference point, the constant. Under Uzziah, Judah had military strength and economic prosperity and real national confidence. And then he died. And the human throne was empty. Now the rabbis understood something deeper in this dating. Uzziah had ended his reign in disgrace. He had gone into the temple to burn incense, a function reserved exclusively for the priests, and God struck him with leprosy immediately. He spent his final years isolated and cut off from the house of God. The great king ended as an untouchable, the human throne emptied in shame. And in that vacuum, in the year the human throne went empty, Isaiah saw the other throne. I saw the Lord sitting on a throne high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. The human throne was empty. The divine throne was full. And it was not a small fullness. Just the train of his robe, just the hem of his garment filled the whole temple. What God wears casually, what brushes the floor when he walks, filled the entire house. The immensity of God made visible in the detail of his clothing. And here is the first thing I want you to see before we even get to the question. God often gives us the clearest vision of his throne when the human thrones in our lives have been emptied. As long as Uzziah was alive and strong and on the throne, the lesser light was shining, and it was harder to see the greater light. But when the human structures we have been leaning on are shaken, when the earthly security is removed, we are positioned to see what was always there, the throne that was always occupied, the king who never stepped down. There is a phenomenon that astronomers know well: light pollution. In any major city, the ambient light of the city washes out the night sky. Stars that are genuinely there, blazing in the darkness, cannot be seen because the city's lesser lights are drowning them out. A person who has lived their entire life in a city can look up on a clear night and see perhaps a dozen stars. But take that same person to the desert, away from every city, away from every artificial light. Let the lesser lights go out, and then look up, and the sky is alive with 10,000 points of light that were always there, always blazing, always real, but completely invisible in the presence of lesser illumination. Uzziah's death turned off the city lights, and in the darkness of a throne gone empty, Isaiah looked up and saw. The lesser lights in your life may need to go out before you can see the throne. Not because God dims them on purpose to punish you, but because human security, when it is functioning and strong, has a light pollution of its own. Above God's throne, Isaiah sees the seraphim, beings whose name means burning ones. They are so close to God's holiness that they appear to be on fire. Each has 6 wings. 2 cover their faces, 2 cover their feet, and 2 are used for flying. That means 4 of their wings are for covering themselves, and only 2 are for movement. Even these burning beings spend more time covering themselves than moving. They call out to each other, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of His glory." In Hebrew, repeating a word shows emphasis. Since they don't have a word like holiest, they say holy 3 times. This doesn't mean God is just very holy. It means He is completely and perfectly holy beyond comparison. He doesn't just have holiness, He is the source and standard of it. As this happens, the doorposts shake and the room fills with smoke. Isaiah, who is a good and faithful man, is overwhelmed. He says, "Woe is me! I am undone. I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among people with unclean lips. And now I have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." I am undone means I am ruined or I am destroyed. Isaiah realizes his problem is his lips, his speech, the very thing he uses as a prophet to speak for God. He sees the seraphim covering their mouths in God's presence and knows he doesn't belong in that category. Here's the first key idea. When someone truly encounters God's holiness, they become deeply aware of their own sin. Not in a vague way, but in a personal, specific way. Isaiah doesn't blame others first. He starts with himself. I am a man of unclean lips. And this is important. If someone is called by God but has never been humbled by His holiness, pride will eventually break them. Isaiah is first humbled before he is sent. God shows people who He is before He sends them out. Uzziah's death turned off the city lights, and in the darkness of a throne gone empty, Isaiah looked up and saw. The lesser lights in your life may need to go out before you can see the throne. Not because God dims them on purpose to punish you, but because human security, when it is functioning and strong, has a light pollution of its own. Then Isaiah hears the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" Notice the word us. Even here, God speaks in a plural way. In this powerful moment, with the throne, the seraphim, and everything shaking, God is inviting someone to join in His work. He is looking for a willing person to go. And Isaiah, who has just been humbled and then cleansed, responds, "Here I am, send me." In Hebrew, this is hineni, shelacheni. Here I am, send me. The word hineni means more than just I'm here. It means I am present, I am ready, I am fully available. This word shows up in other moments too. Abraham says it when God calls him. Moses says it at the burning bush. Samuel says it when he hears God calling at night. Each time it means the same thing. I'm here and I'm ready to respond. Here's the key idea. When God asks, "Whom shall I send?" it's a real question. He's not just talking to himself. He's inviting someone to step forward. God chooses to work through people who are willing. Isaiah doesn't say, "I'm qualified," or "I'm good enough." He simply says, "I'm here. You can send me." That's what God is looking for. Availability, not perfection. What comes next isn't easy. Isaiah is sent to deliver a message that people won't want to hear. It won't bring quick success. In fact, it will harden hearts for a time instead of softening them. But he is still sent, because the mission comes after the willingness. The assignment comes after "Here I am." In semiconductor manufacturing, there's something called a clean room. It's a space where everything is tightly controlled to keep out even the smallest contamination. Before workers can enter, they have to go through detailed cleaning procedures. This isn't because they're dirty in a normal sense. By everyday standards, they're perfectly clean. But in that environment, where even a tiny speck of dust can ruin an entire circuit, normal cleanliness just isn't good enough. The throne room in Isaiah 6 is like the ultimate clean room. Isaiah is a good and faithful man by human standards, but in God's presence, he is suddenly aware that he is unclean. Not because of one obvious terrible sin, but because there is an infinite gap between human imperfection and God's perfect holiness. Even the burning ones cover their faces before him. That's why the question, "Whom shall I send?" can only be answered by someone who has first been made clean. And that cleansing doesn't come from trying harder or improving yourself. It comes from God, from the burning coal taken from the altar. Let me close with this. The question, "Whom shall I send?" is still being asked in heaven. It was not a question asked once to one prophet in one century. It is the recurring question of a God whose mission never ends and whose need for willing human vessels never diminishes. And the sequence is always the same. The human throne empties, and you see the divine throne. The holiness undoes you. The coal from the altar cleanses you. And then the question, open, unhurried, into the air of the throne room, "Whom shall I send?" And the only thing required is the word that Abraham said, that Moses said, that Samuel said, that Isaiah said, "Hineni, here I am." You do not have to be qualified. You do not have to have a clean record or a perfect past or an impressive resume. You have to have been in the throne room. You have to have been undone by holiness. You have to have received the coal from the altar. And then, Hineni. What is God asking you to do today? What assignment has he been holding open, waiting for someone to raise their hand? The question is in the air right now. Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? What is your answer? Father, we have been in the throne room today. We have heard the seraphim. Cleanse us with the coal from the altar. Take away our iniquity. Purge our sin. And then ask us the question, "Whom shall I send?" Here I am, Lord. Send me now.
Thanks for joining us today for Fresh Oil with Pastor Keith Manley. Fresh Oil is an outreach of Grace Family Church in Rockford, Illinois, and can be heard each weekday at this same time. You can reach us online at weneedgod.com. Until next time, remember, God's love for you is unconditional, and he makes his mercies new every morning.